Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Paul Gray used to be the head of the NHS in Scotland, and he has said that over the past few years it has sunk so low that it is no longer sustainable in its present form, it's not fit for purpose, and it must be changed from the ground up. But that's not surprising considering who over the last 4 or so years have been in charge of the NHS. Some of the worst politicians ever to walk the earth. Now, and currently led, of course, by a tosser called Michael Matheson, who's giving absolutely zero interest in his day job because he's too busy worrying about his wife and kids and what they think of him after yesterday's pitiful performance in Parliament. We'll take a look at this, see how bad it is getting under the current regime and why this guy says everything needs to change. Here goes. So NHS Scotland, not sustainable in its current form, as SNP handed scathing warning to act quickly. They can't act quickly, and if they did get it wrong, they're just not fit for office. They're not capable of doing the job. Everything for them is independence, and they don't care about the NHS. They don't care about anything. A former NHS boss has said that the health service won't last much longer in its current form, as he calls for action to ensure we still have a free at the point of need system for the centenary in 2048. I would very much doubt it, the way it's going, especially not the Scottish NHS. They're just heaping too much on. They want more and more and more. They're giving them less and less and less, but they're still managing to spend millions on independence that nobody really wants. The National Health Service is not sustainable in its present form, says a former chief executive of the NHS in Scotland, who added that the SNP government must act now. Paul Gray, who was the head of health service in Scotland between 2013 and 2019, insisted the need of change is obvious. Well, it is. We all see it. When you're seeing waiting lists growing sort of exponentially, and that you don't actually have a health minister now. You've only got a man who likes to lie and steal and cry and moan about his children rather than actually doing his job. A man who must absolutely go with immediate effect. In a brutal summary of healthcare under the SNP, he said, the worrying data emerging every week shows that a mature, constructive debate on safeguarding its future is overdue and is essential. This comes as the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, sticks to his predecessor's controversial National Care Service reforms, and with the NHS COVID recovery plan he put in place continuing to falter. The National Care Service was DOA. It was destined never to work because nobody was prepared to put the time, effort, and most of all, money into it. They wanted a headline. They wanted something that sounded good just prior to an election, but which was totally unachievable. But, so much for the NHS under the SNP. They just don't care. As I say, it's only independence is the only thing that matter. Anyway, Mr. Gray went on to say, remember that change is hard, and using it as a weapon to claim the moral high ground greatly reduces the likelihood of its success. And his comments came in a post on the website of think tank Reform Scotland, as it considers what is needed for the NHS to still be a taxpayer-funded and free at the point of need in 2048, which will be 100 years since it was established. He says, if we seriously want to have a viable healthcare service in 2048, we need to talk soon and act quickly. And of course, nothing. They'll do a lot of talking, but there'll be very, very little acting on this. He argued that Scotland is now at the point where it is widely recognised that the current approach to providing healthcare services is not sustainable in its present form. He said, it is not sustainable for the people it is intended to serve. It is not sustainable for the people providing the service, and it is not sustainable in terms of continually increasing demand on the resources available to it. But when they're spending £8.5 million a month on spin doctors rather than real doctors, is anybody surprised by this? I think probably not. He said, while this is not the same as saying it's beyond repair or that it's fundamentally unfit for purpose, he said the need for change and development is obvious and the moment is not near, but now. He said development and innovation are needed within the health and care service, but they should not be put ahead of issues that are the most fundamental and pressing. Lack of doctors, lack of nurses, lack of bed space. Basically, stop wasting money on stuff that's unnecessary and spend it where it matters. Expansion of healthcare services is not inevitable, Mr. Gray said, arguing more of everything may not be affordable or right. No, but certainly more doctors and less spin doctors would be a good start. In considering what lies ahead for the NHS, he stressed the need to discuss difficult issues openly and respectfully and draw on evidence and analysis rather than opinion. But that's not the SNP way. Their opinion is all that matters. They make a decision, they stick to it, whether it's right, wrong or anything, because they cannot ever be seen to be wrong. And that's why they don't like asking experts, because experts often tell them things they don't want to hear. And of course, if you're hearing things you don't want to hear, you go, no, I'm not listening. The SNP way. Reform Scotland director Chris Deering said, the worrying data emerging every week from within the NHS shows the mature constructive debate on safeguarding its future is overdue and essential. The strains have become too great across the whole range of issues, and both patients and healthcare staff are suffering as a result. Medics are genuinely worried about whether the NHS can survive without major surgery. We need to identify and build consensus around specific measures that will help our health and care services in both the short and long term. He said the NHS is the ultimate political football, with all parties seemingly willing to play games with a public service that should be above such behaviour. They all want the kudos of going, oh, we've got a good health service, but none of them really want to pay for it because they have their other pet projects. For the SNP, of course, it's independence. They'd rather pump millions into independence than pump millions into healthcare, because healthcare, while important, isn't going to give them what they want. And that is why if you truly, I think, want to save the NHS, you have to bin the SNP. One cannot exist while the other lives. And it is quite simply that choice. Do you want the SNP with no chance of independence, or an NHS and let's not worry about independence? Call it as you see it. But it is literally a matter of life and death. People will die, people will suffer, and all because the SNP are incapable of grasping the nettle and actually reforming the NHS. It's their one job. That and firing Michael Matheson. Anyway, I shall round off there. I shall come up and we shall finish the video. As I'm making each of my videos today, every time I stop one and upload, and as I'm uploading and doing the editing and things, I keep looking to see if Matheson has resigned or been fired. And as yet, no, he hasn't. But this is an example of why he must go. Over and above everything he's done with the iPad, he's just destroying the NHS because he's got no worth to him. He's no value. He's not providing anything. He's not doing anything. He's not providing the money. He's not saying, right, let's get rid of the spin doctors there. Let's get some doctors in. He's not, let's close that one and let's open that one. Let's move that there and move that there. Let's stop wanking money away on this and let's pay for these nurses over here. The job that a government minister really ought to be doing. Cutting waste and improving services. He's not even in the office anymore. He doesn't even want to attend. He's got so many problems now that nothing is getting done. He's a waste of space and a waste of humanity, and he needs to go. And until Ken Doll fires him, nothing will change in the NHS, and people will continue to die while that man sits and cries over his soft approach to life. What a prick. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do be scared. Do worry about the NHS, because while it's there, it's okay, but there's no guarantee it's going to stay there for much longer. And of course, even while it's there, people are dying on waiting lists. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and let's try and do something about it. Bye.